The next morning in Enuma compound was peaceful. Birds sang softly on the fence. The early sun warmed the ground. Everything looked normal, but inside the house, something dark was quietly moving. Omasiri woke up early and helped Esther sweep the compound. She smiled as they walked, unaware that the people around her had already chosen her for death. Inside the main house, Mr. Enuma was pacing slowly. He had been expecting visitors. His eyes kept moving from the door to the window. He knew what was coming. Around 10 a.m., Esther and Omasiri were in the kitchen when a knocking sound came from outside. Mr. Enuma quickly wiped his face and walked out to open the door. Standing outside were three elders, all wearing long traditional wrappers across their shoulders. Their faces were serious, their eyes were sharp, their presence carried weight. "Good morning," they greeted. "Good morning. Please come in," Mr. Enuma answered with a forced smile. He led them to the living room. Esther and Omasiri remained in the kitchen, but they could hear low voices, the sound of men talking deeply, the sound of something serious. Esther's hands shook slightly as she washed plates. Omasiri noticed. "Esther, are you okay?" she asked gently. "Yes, I'm fine," Esther said quickly. Too quickly. Omasiri frowned a little but said nothing. After some minutes, Esther suggested they go out for a stroll to stretch their legs. "Let's go and walk small," she said. "Yes," Omasiri agreed. "Village air is fresh." They walked out of the kitchen and passed by the living room. And that was when they saw the elders. Three old men, three serious faces, three pairs of eyes. Esther's heart jumped. Omasiri slowed down. They both greeted politely. "Good morning, sirs." The elders nodded. "Good morning," they replied. But their eyes rested on Omasiri for a long time. Their stares were slow and deep, almost like they were studying her, examining her, taking note of her body and face. Their eyes were not warm. Their eyes were not friendly. Their eyes were sharp, cold and calculating. Omasiri felt something crawl across her skin. She felt uneasy. She felt watched. She felt exposed. But she forced herself to smile. As they walked some steps away from the house, she whispered, "Esther, did you see how they were looking at me?" Esther tried to look normal, but her heart was beating fast. "Yes, maybe they are just village elders," she said. "Why were they staring like that?" Omasiri asked again. Esther swallowed. "Village people sometimes look at Lagos girls differently. Maybe that is all." Omasiri nodded slowly, still uncomfortable. "Maybe it's just village style," she told herself. But deep inside, something did not feel right. 3 days passed after seeing the elders. 3 quiet days, 3 peaceful days, 3 days of false safety. During those days, Esther acted normal. Mr. and Mrs. Enuma acted polite. Chimaobi acted caring and sweet. The village looked calm. Nothing strange happened. Omasiri relaxed again. She stopped worrying about the elders. She believed everything was fine. But the truth was hiding in silence. The elders had already set a day and time. And the day finally came. It was a cool afternoon. The sky was clear. The breeze was soft. Omasiri wore a simple dress and tied her hair neatly. She felt bright and happy. Chimaobi came to her and said, "Let us go and stroll small. The weather is good." She smiled and agreed. They walked side by side down a small path. They laughed about something small. They talked about Lagos and future plans. Everything seemed normal, but suddenly, without warning, three strong men jumped out from behind the trees. Before she could scream, one man grabbed her waist, another man covered her mouth, a third man lifted her legs. She kicked, she fought, she tried to shout, but one of them tied a cloth around her mouth so tight she could not make a sound. At the same time, someone grabbed Chimaobi too, pretending to kidnap him. He shouted weakly, "Leave us! Leave us!" but the men dragged him away to make everything look real. Inside him, he felt fear and guilt, but he pretended to struggle. This was the plan. This was the moment, and it was happening. Maseri, blindfolded, thought they had captured both of them. She thought it was a real attack. She thought her boyfriend was also in danger, but she was wrong. The men carried her for some minutes. She could not see anything. The world was dark and silent except for the sound of footsteps and rough breathing around her. Then they reached the compound. A gate opened. They entered. The gate closed behind them loudly. They dragged her into a small building at the back, the boss quarters of our chief's house. They pushed her inside a tiny dark room. She fell on the floor. The smell of dust entered her nose. She heard a lock turning loudly, then silence. She tried to shout, but the cloth in her mouth stopped every sound. She tried to see, but the blindfolded covered her eyes completely. Her heart pounded. She was shaking violently. She thought, why is this happening? Where am I? Where is Chima? Did they capture him too? Are we going to die? Tears filled her eyes behind the blindfold. She sat in the darkness, confused, terrified, and helpless. Meanwhile, outside the room, the men carried Chimobi to a different place far away. They removed his blindfold once she could not see him anymore. He stood still, breathing hard. One of the men whispered, "Everything is moving well. You can go home." Chimobi nodded slowly and walked away, pretending to be shaken. But inside him, his heart was breaking. He knew she was suffering. He knew she was scared. He knew she trusted him. He knew he had betrayed her deeply. But he had to leave. He had to pretend. He had to make the lie complete. He walked back to the main compound with a heavy heart. His parents looked at him. Mrs. Enuma whispered, "Is she locked inside?" "Yes," he replied quietly. They nodded. Fear filled the room, but the plan continued. Inside the locked room, time moved slowly. Every hour felt like a full day. They kept her blindfolded so she would not know where she was. They kept the cloth in her mouth so she could not call for help. She did not know what was happening outside. She did not know morning from night. She did not know how many days passed. Sometimes she heard footsteps. Sometimes she heard voices whisper. Sometimes she heard someone open the door only to throw food inside without untying her. She would crawl to the food blindly, crying, struggling, hurting, but she would eat a little to stay alive. Her entire world was darkness. Her entire mind was confusion. Her entire body was weak. She kept thinking about her parent. She kept thinking about Esther. She kept thinking about Chimobi. She believed he was also captured. She believed they were suffering together. She believed it was real. She never imagined that they were part of the betrayal. Meanwhile, in Lagos, her parents started noticing something strange. Her phone had been wrong. She had not called. She had not sent messages. She had not updated her status. She was silent for too long. Her mother picked her phone and dialed her number. No answer. She died again. No answer. She died again. Still no answer. Her heart started beating fast. She told her husband. He died too. Same result. No answer. They tried again and again for hours. Still nothing. Her mother whispered, "Something is wrong." Her father tried to calm her. Maybe network is bad in the village. But deep inside, he also felt something was not right. After calling many times, they decided to try Esther's number. Her father died it. Esther was in the village living room when her phone rang. The moment she saw the number, her heart dropped. She froze. She looked at her mother. She looked at her father. They were all frightened. "Pick it," her mother whispered urgently. Esther swallowed hard and answered. "Hello, auntie," she said in a soft, fake, cheerful tone. "Maseri's phone has been off." her mother said in a worried voice. We have been calling since morning. What is happening? Esther felt her heart jump into her throat. She forced a small smile into her voice. Auntie, please do not worry. She and Chima went for strolling. They left their phones at home. They will be back soon. She felt like crying after saying it. Her mother said, Are you sure? Yes, Auntie. They did not take their phones. Maybe they didn't want distraction. I will tell them to call you once they return. Okay, her mother said slowly. Please call us. We are worried. I will, Auntie. The call ended. Esther placed her phone on her lap and covered her face with both hands. She felt like screaming. She felt like vomiting. She felt like running away. But she sat still because she could not change anything. Back in Lagos, after the call, her parents sat quietly on the bed. They went for strolling. Her father said softly, Yes, her mother repeated, trying to breathe calmly. They left their phones. He added, Yes. They said these words to comfort themselves, but their heart refused to rest. Her mother placed her hand on her chest. Her heartbeat was fast. God, keep my child safe, she whispered slowly. Her father held her hand gently. She is fine, he said softly, trying to be strong. But even he did not fully believe it. They waited and waited and waited, but no call came because the truth was far darker than they imagined. Their daughter was not strolling. She was not safe. She was not happy. She was not with her phone. She was not with people who loved her. She was locked inside a dark room, blindfolded, weak, afraid, in danger, and the evil plan was only beginning. Night was slowly falling over the quiet Amin village. The air was cool, and the sky was turning dark purple as the sun disappeared behind the tall trees. People were returning from their farms. Children were running home, and fires from outside kitchens were rising smoke into the air. But beneath the quiet movement of normal village life, something else was happening. Something dark, something silent, something sacred to some, but deadly to others. And now, whispers had started moving around like small birds flying from one house to another. Whispers about the Enuma family, whispers about a girl, whispers about a sacrifice. Two women were sweeping the front of their compound when one of them leaned closer and whispered, They said the Enumas have gotten their sacrifice. The other woman gasped sharply. Already? Yes, I heard from Mama Ogadi, who heard from her husband. Ah, who is the girl? They said she's from Lagos. Chineke. That means she's not from our village. Yes, that is why she fits the requirement. Farther down the road, an old man sitting on a wooden bench murmured to another, Every year, someone's daughter must suffer. That is the tradition. The other man replied coldly, But why must it continue? You want the village to suffer again? No, but then keep quiet. It must be done. Children carried water home. Older women roasted yam. Young boys kicked the ball around. Everyone behaved normally on the outside, but many knew the truth. The sacrifice preparation had begun. The Enumas were the chosen family this year. Their offering had been captured. The gods were waiting. Some people felt pity, some felt relief, some felt fear, and a few felt anger. Anger of a tradition that had stolen too many innocent lives. One of those people was Oke. Oke was a fisherman in his early 50s. His skin was dark from years of working under the sun. His shoulders were strong from pulling net. His face carried many painful memories. He lived alone in a small house near the riverside. People in the village knew him, but nobody really knew him. They saw quiet man, a very quiet man, a man who drank palm wine in the evenings, a man who worked hard, a man who kept to himself, but inside him lived pain. Pain from many years ago that he never shared. That night, after returning from fishing, he tied his canoe gently, carried his fishing net, and walked home. The moon was rising. The wind was soft. As he walked past a group of women washing vegetables, he heard their low voices. "Did you hear?" One woman whispered. "Hear what?" Another asked. "The Enuma family. They have gotten the girl." Oga Oke froze. He pretended he didn't hear. He kept walking. "They say she is young and beautiful," the woman continued. "The gods like beautiful ones," the other woman said sadly. "Yes, they already locked her somewhere. The sacrifice preparations have started." Oga Oke's steps slowed even more. His heart tightened inside his chest. He knew that tone. He knew that whisper. He knew that fear. He had heard it many times before. He walked home with a troubled mind. Much later, when the night grew darker, he walked again, this time to buy palm wine from a neighbor. He always walked past the chief's compound. It had high walls, a big gate, and two small houses inside, one main house and a boss quarter. Tonight, something made him walk slower than usual as he passed the back fence. He heard a faint sound, a soft sound, a painful sound, a woman's sound. Mm, mm, mm. The sound of someone trying to cry, but unable to at full voice. The sound of someone caged. He stopped completely. His heart thumped. He moved closer to the backside of the boys' quarters wall. He listened. Mm, mm. The sound came again and again. He knew immediately. Someone was inside that room. Someone in pain. Someone tied. Someone hidden. He had seen this before. He had heard this before. He had lived this before. Fear rose inside him, but so did anger. He whispered to himself, "They have brought another girl." He closed his eyes tightly. Memories flashed. Memories he hated. Memories that still burned after so many years. He wanted to walk away. He wanted to mind his business. He wanted to pretend he had nothing. But something strong inside him refused. He turned around and walked back home. But he did not go to sleep. He sat on the wooden chair outside his house, thinking. Then slowly, a dangerous idea entered his mind. He stood up. He picked a small keg of palm wine. He roasted fish on his small fire outside. He spiced it. He tasted it. He added something inside, something that would make people sleep deeply. He packed the food and wine into a small sack. He whispered to himself, "This is dangerous, but I must try." He left his house and walked back toward Chief's compound. The night was darker now. The sky had only a few stars. Most villagers were asleep. At the back gate of the compound, two guards sat on wooden stools. They looked tired. They were busy talking about money and food. When they saw Oga Oke, they frowned a little. What is he doing here at this time? But he greeted politely. "My brothers, good evening." They nodded. He smiled gently. I brought something for you people." Their eyes opened wide instantly. Hunger flashed across their faces. "What is it?" one of them asked. "Palm wine and roasted fish. I said I should share with hardworking men like you." The guards exchanged excited looks. "Ah, thank you, thank you." They collected the food without thinking twice. They ate fast. They drank faster. Within minutes, their voices started to slow. Their heads became heavy. Their eyes dropped. Their tongues grew lazy. Then one guard said, "This wine is too sweet. Too. He fell sideways and slept deeply. The second guard fell forward, snoring loudly. Oga Oke waited for a few seconds to be sure. Then he approached slowly. He searched their pockets. He found two keys. He moved toward the small boss quarters. He inserted the key. He turned it. The door opened. His heart beat fast. Inside, the room was dark, hot, smelly, silent. Then he heard a faint movement, a soft cry, a quiet breath. He stepped inside and whispered, "Is somebody here?" A small body shifted. He walked closer and knelt down. His fingers touched a leg. He moved his hand up and felt a cloth tied around the mouth. He felt a blindfold covering the eyes. He whispered again, "Who is this?" The girl tried to speak. "Mm, mm, mm, mm." His heart broke. He gently untied the cloth from her mouth. She gasped for air. She tried to scream, but he quickly placed his finger on her lips. "Shh, shh, do not shout. You are not safe." Her voice trembled. "Who are you?" He untied the blindfold. Her eyes opened slowly. She blinked repeatedly, adjusting to the darkness. She saw a dark-skinned man with tired eyes and a serious face. Her lips shook. "What is happening? Where am I? Why? Please," he whispered gently. "There is no time for questions. You must run now." She tried to stand, but her legs were weak. He held her gently and helped her up. "You must leave this place right now, before they come back," she whispered, terrified. "Who are you? Why are you helping me?" He shook his head firmly. "No need to know who I am. No need to know why. The only thing you must know is this: your life is in danger. You must run now, far away, as fast as you can." "But no," he whispered fiercely. "No talking, no questions. Run." Tears filled her eyes. "Where is Chimobi?" "They took him too." Oga Oke's heart squeezed painfully. He wished he could tell her the truth. He wished he could tell her she had been deceived. He wished he could tell her Chimobi was not a victim. But he only whispered, "He is not here. Run and save yourself." Her hands shook. Her heart jumped inside her chest. She nodded weakly. He pointed toward a small crack in the compound fence. "Go through there. Run to the main road. Do not look back." She nodded again. But before she left, she touched his hand. "Thank you," she whispered. He looked away quickly, his heart heavy. "Go," he said. She bent low and crawled outside through the fence crack. Then she ran. She ran into the darkness. She ran towards the main road. She ran as fast as her weak legs could go. Oga Oke watched from his hiding spot. Hiding behind a tree, he whispered, "God, help this girl." The road was quiet. The trees rustled softly. The moonlight guided her weak steps. She kept running, breathing hard, afraid, confused and shaken. She saw the main road ahead. She felt hope rise in her chest. Just a few more steps, just a little more. Then, two dark figures stepped out from behind the bushes. Before she could scream, one grabbed her arm, another grabbed her waist. They forced her down. They tied her mouth again. They blindfolded her again. She kicked, she fought, she cried. But they were stronger. They dragged her away. She struggled violently, but she was too weak. They carried her to another place, another locked room, another corner of the village. They pushed her inside and locked her again. Inside, the room was colder and darker than the first. She fell to the ground, shaking. She felt pain everywhere. She felt fear in every part of her body. She felt the hope had died. She whispered a muffled cry behind the gag, and she believed she was never going to be free. From where he hid, Oga Oke saw everything. His hands shook, his eyes filled with tears, his heart pounded hard. He watched helplessly as the guards caught her and dragged her away again. He felt pain in his chest, pain from memories, pain from guilt, pain from knowing the truth, pain from losing someone again. He leaned against a tree and covered his face. "Oh God," he whispered, "not again, not another innocent child." He stood there for a long time, breathing deeply, trying not to cry. That night, that night was cold. The air was still, and the world felt heavy. He whispered to himself, "This must end. This evil must end. I cannot keep quiet again. Not this time. Not again." He remembered the woman he once loved many years ago, the woman they took away from him and sacrificed like an animal. He remembered how they threatened him, how they drove him out, how he ran for safety, how his life shattered, how he became a shadow of himself. "Never again," he whispered. "This wicked tradition must end." He turned away and slowly walked back to his home. His steps were heavy. His heart was on fire. That night, he did not sleep. He sat on his wooden chair, thinking, planning, preparing. He whispered over and over, "I will expose them. I will end this. I will save that girl. I will not let her die." While Aoke was filled with pain and determination, the Enuma family sat inside their living room with fear rushing through their veins. "What happened?" Mrs. Enuma asked, her voice shaking. One of the elders had come to inform them that the girl almost escaped. He said, "What?" Mr. Enuma shouted. "She ran out through the fence, but our guards caught her before she reached the road." Fear filled every corner of the room. "What if she escaped next time?" Esther whispered in panic. Her mother looked at her sharply. "Do not speak fear. Mommy, what if she tells someone?" "Then we are finished," her father said quietly. They all froze. Nobody spoke for a long time. The elder finally said, "We will tighten security. Nothing must go wrong." The Enuma family nodded quietly, but inside their hearts, pure terror lived. They were afraid of the village. They were afraid of punishment. They were afraid of the ghosts. But most of all, they were afraid of the truth coming out. Meanwhile, in Lagos, the tension continued to grow. Maseri's parents sat on their bed, their phones in their hands, their faces full of fear. "Her phone is still off," her mother whispered. "What is happening?" Her father said slowly, "She died again." It rang, no answer. Her father died again, no answer. Then they tried Esther's number, but when they called, the line did not go through. They tried again, still nothing. They tried Mr. Enuma's number, it did not connect. They tried Mrs. Enuma's number, nothing. All the Enuma family numbers were suddenly unreachable. Her mother began to cry softly. "They blocked us," she whispered. "They blocked our calls." Her father rubbed his face with both hands. Fear crawled up his spine. Fear wrapped around their heart. Fear entered the room and stayed there. "They died again, still nothing." Her father whispered, "What do we do?" Her mother cried quietly. "I do not even know the name of the village," she said painfully. "We do not know where to start." Her father held her hand tightly. Their only child was gone. Her voice silent. Her phone dead. The people who hosted her blocking their calls. No address, no village name, no clue, nothing. Her mother cried harder. "We don't know where our child is," she whispered. "We don't know what is happening. We don't know how to find her." Her husband hugged her tightly, but even he could not stop the fear. Their daughter was missing. Their daughter was in danger, and they had no idea where to find her. The quiet Amin village lay under a heavy darkness. The moonlight rested weakly on the trees, and the wind whispered soft secrets through the branches. Everything looked calm from a distance, but inside the Enuma family house, fear and weakness were already dancing together like shadows around a dying fire. Maseri, weak and still tied somewhere in the village, had no idea that the countdown to her death had started. Only 1 month remained until the annual sacrifice. The elders knew it. The chief priest knew it. The Enuma family knew it. And now they were meeting again to take the next dark steps. Inside the Enuma living room, 3 elders sat with long wrappers tied around their chest. Their faces were serious, and their eyes were cold. The air in the room felt heavy, almost like it was carrying a bad smell. Mr. Enuma sat on one chair, sweating lightly. Mrs. Enuma stood with her hands folded. Esther stood in the corner trembling. Chimobi sat quietly looking at the floor. One of the elders cleared his throat. We have only 1 month left, he said slowly. We must start preparing the girl for the sacrifice. Esther's heart jumped painfully. A strange fear rested behind her eyes, but she stayed quiet. Another elder added, she must be washed. She must be held in fasting. She must be kept where no one can see her. This sacrifice must not fail. Mrs. Enuma nodded quickly. It will not fail. We will do everything you say. Mr. Enuma swallowed. His throat felt dry. We have kept her hidden, but she almost escaped last time. We must move carefully. The eldest elder leaned forward slightly. She must be prepared for her final journey, he said in a cold voice. Esther closed her eyes tightly. Chimobi inhaled deeply, trying not to break down. Everything was becoming too real. But the room had no space for mercy, no space for pity, no space for regret. One of the elders said, tomorrow, we must begin washing of her body. In 2 weeks, the markings begin. In 1 month, the sacrifice will take place. There was silence, heavy silence, painful silence, the kind of silence that can choke a person. Finally, Mrs. Enuma nodded. We will follow everything. The elder stood and walked out of the house slowly, leaving behind a family drowning in guilt and fear. Esther collapsed into a chair. Mommy, are we really doing this? Her mother avoided her eyes. Her father rubbed his hands together nervously. Chimobi looked like someone had just removed all the light from his soul. But nobody stopped the plan. Nobody. Nobody said no. Nobody chose to save Maseri. Outside, the wind blew gently, as if carrying a warning the family refused to hear. Far away in Lagos, Maseri's parents were fighting another battle, the battle of fear and uncertainty. Days had passed, days without hearing from their daughter, days without a single message, days without a call. Her phone had been off. Esther's phone had become unreachable. The Enuma's parents' phone were not connecting. Neighbors in Esther's compound had no answers. Every night, her mother cried silently, holding her daughter's pillows to her chest. Every morning, her father sat outside the house, staring at the road as if expecting to see her walking towards home. But nothing changed, and they still did not know the name of the village. That was their greatest mistake. One morning, after another sleepless night, they left their house and rushed to Esther's apartment again. When they knocked, the door was locked. Her mother went from door to door asking neighbors, please, do you know the village Esther's family is from? Please, help us. Each person shook their head. I don't know. No, we never asked. They never said the name. We only know they are from Anambra. Her mother's knees shook. Her father's chest burned with fear. They stood outside the empty building, helpless and alone. God, help our child. Help us find our child. Her mother whispered, tears falling from her eyes. God, show us the way. Have mercy on us, her father said with a broken voice. They went home with heavy hearts, still in darkness. They did not know their daughter was tied to a tree, suffering. They did not know she was now in her final days. They did not know that time was almost gone. Back in the village, the new hiding place they chose for Maseri was even worse than the last. It was a lonely bush path close to the old shrine, a place villagers hardly passed at night. She was tied to a tree, rough tree. Her hands were tied behind her back. Her legs were tied together. Her mouth was still gauged. Her eyes were still covered, sometimes to weaken her spirit. She was weak, tired, hungry, cold, bruised, hopeless. every night. She cried quietly every morning. She prayed for help every hour. She asked God for strength every second. She wondered if she would die here. The wind blew gently through the trees, and insects moved around her. Sometimes she heard footsteps from far away. Sometimes she heard strange voices inside the shrine compound. One night, she whispered through her heart, God, please, please help me. Little did she know that help was coming. Help she did not expect. Help from someone she did not know. Oga Oke had not slept well since the night she was recaptured. His heart was restless. His mind was sharp. Something strong inside him refused to let him sit quietly. This girl must not die, he whispered every morning. He moved through the village like a shadow. He listened carefully to gossip. He walked near places people avoided. He watched the elders from far. He studied their movements. He wanted to know where they had taken her this time. He wanted to find her before it was too late. For days, he got nothing, no hint, no sign, no whisper. Then, on the day before the sacrifice night, he walked through the bush paths near the shrine to check his fishing traps. He heard something faint, a weak cry, a soft sound, a painful moan. He froze. He listened again. His heart jumped. He moved slowly, carefully, making sure no one saw him. He followed the sound until he reached a tree. And there she was, Maseri, tied like an animal, weak like a dying flower, barely breathing. Her hair was messy. Her face was swollen. Her body was dirty. She looked like she had not eaten well in days. His eyes grew wet instantly. Chineke, he whispered softly, heart breaking. He looked around quickly to ensure no guard was near. He stepped closer and whispered, Can you hear me? Can you hear me? She jumped slightly in fear, recognizing a voice. He whispered again, softer, It is me, the man who freed you before. She stopped struggling. He carefully untied her mouth. She gasped weakly. Please, please help me, she whispered, her voice almost gone. He swallowed painfully. I will help you, but listen carefully. I cannot free you now. They will catch you again. Her eyes filled with tears. He looked around, then pulled out his small old phone. He whispered urgently, Do you remember any phone number? Any number at all? She blinked slowly. Then she whispered, My parents' number. I remember it. His heart raced. Say it, he whispered. She said the number slowly, shaking, crying, struggling to breathe. He typed the number into his phone. Then he whispered, I will help you, I promise, but I must leave now before they see me. She wanted to ask questions. She wanted to beg him not to leave. She wanted to hold his hand and beg for strength. But he placed a finger on her lips gently. No talking. No fear. I will save you, he whispered. Then he placed the cloth back loosely on her mouth so she could remove it later if needed. He turned and disappeared into the darkness. She watched his shadow fade and disappeared. She whispered, Please come back, please. When he reached home, it was late at night. The moon was high. The road was quiet. No sound came from the village except for far crickets. He sat on his stool, breathing fast. He looked at the number on his phone again. Then he died. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a tired, broken male voice answered. Hello? Oga Oke swallowed and said slowly, Sir, are you the father of a girl named Maseri? Her father stood up instantly from the bed. Yes, 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 that is my daughter. Please, who is this? Where is she? Her mother grabbed the phone and pressed her ear close. Oga Oke spoke with pain in his voice. Your daughter is in danger. Her mother screamed. Her father's heart stopped for a moment. What? What danger? Tell us, Where is she? Please talk, he continued. She's being held in a village in Anambra by people who want to use her for sacrifice. Her mother screamed again, this time falling to her knees. Her father shouted into the phone, what village? What sacrifice? What are you saying? Oga shook as he spoke. I heard your daughter crying. I saw her tied to a tree. They want to kill her tomorrow night. Her mother cried loudly. Her father felt his body shake uncontrollably. You must come with the police and army. Oga continued. Do not come alone. These people are dangerous. Please, send the location. Her father begged. I will send it right now, Oga said. He sent the location immediately. Then he added, hurry, there is no time. The call ended. Her parents broke down, crying together. They held each other tightly. Their hearts felt like they were being cut open. But they did not know one thing. They must move now. It was already midnight. They could not travel at that hour. The roads were not safe. But they started packing immediately. Her father threw clothes into a bag. Her mother searched for money and documents. They refused to sleep. They refused to rest. They refused to give up. All they did was cry and pray. God, please keep our daughter alive. Her father whispered repeatedly. God, protect her. Her mother cried. When morning came, they locked their house and entered their car. They drove fast. They prayed loudly. They shouted to God for mercy. The trip was long and peaceful. They did not talk much. They just cried and prayed. At one point, her mother said, how can they do this to another woman's child? Her father hit the steering wheel softly, tears falling from his eyes. They would pay, he whispered. While they were still on the road, Maseri's father's elder brother in Enugu was making calls. He called police officers he knew. He called his old friend in the army. He explained everything and begged for help. By late afternoon, he had arranged a team of police and soldiers. They were instructed, a girl in danger must be rescued tonight. He gave them the location Ogoke sent. They prepared immediately. When Maseri's parents finally reached Anambra, it was evening. Their eyes were swollen. Their faces were tired. Their hearts were bleeding. But they refused to stop. At a small meeting point near the village road, they met the police and army officers. Her father's brother was waiting too. Vehicles were ready. Weapons were prepared. Flashlights were held tightly. Her father ran to the officers and said, please, my daughter, please save her. One of the officers held his shoulder. We will save her, he said. Oga did not join them physically. He knew the elders would kill him if they saw him. So he stayed hidden in the back seat of one of the cars. He called the police commander's number. From where you are, he whispered, go straight. Do not follow the main road. Follow the small path on the right. It leads to the shrine. The vehicle moved quietly. He guided them turn by turn. He whispered urgently, move faster. They may start the sacrifice soon. The vehicles increased speed. The forest became thicker. The path became smaller. The shrine became closer. The night grew darker. The wind grew colder. And at the end of the narrow path, the faint sound of ritual drums began to rise. The rescue team tightened their grip on their guns. Her father's heart almost stopped. Her mother held her chest. Her father's brother clenched his fist. Oga whispered, you are close. She's there. And with that, the rescue team moved towards the shrine to save the only child of two broken parents. The story of blood and betrayal was about to reach its breaking point. Night rested over Amenu village like a heavy cloth. The moon stood high in the sky, shining a pale white light over the trees. The air was strange, too quiet, too still, almost like the whole village was holding its breath. In the deepest part of the forest, far from the people, far from the homes, far from safety, The old shrine waited. The shrine had existed for centuries, surrounded by tall trees and thick bushes. Some villagers avoided the area completely. Some passed with fear. But on this terrible night, the shrine was alive. Drums beat softly in the distance. Fire burned low in front of a carved wooden structure. And in the middle of everything lay a girl, weak, shaking, and almost lifeless. Maseri, the child of loving parent, the only friend of Esther, the girl who trusted too much, the girl who came for Christmas, not knowing she was chosen to die. The shrine compound was surrounded by old trees whose branches bent down like hands. The ground was dark and damp. The wind moved slowly, carrying the smell of smoke and wet leaves. At the center of the shrine was a large flat stone, the ancient sacrifice stone. Beside it was a shallow grave dug earlier that day, and beside that shallow grave lay Omasili on a straw mat, too weak to move. Her eyes were half open. Her voice was almost gone. Her body trembled softly with every breath. She was dressed for death, a white wrapper tied tightly around her chest, white chalk marks drawn all over her face, her arms and legs weak from days of hunger and fear. She looked like a painting of suffering, but she was still alive. Her heart was still beating. Her spirit, though weak, had not died. She prayed silently. She whispered, "God, help me." She thought of her parents. She wondered if she would ever see them again. Around her stood the people who brought her into the trap, the people she trusted. 6 elders stood near the fire. They wore long black wrappers tied around their waists. Their bodies were covered in white chalk. Their eyes were dark, cold, and empty. Near them stood Mr. and Mrs. Enuma, pretending to be strong, but fear shaking inside them. Their daughter Esther also stood in black. Tears filled her eyes, but she still kept quiet. She had helped bring her best friend to this place, even though her heart was slowly breaking. And then, standing a little distance away, wearing a black wrapper and shivering from guilt, Chimobi, the man Omasiri thought loved her, the man she trusted with her heart, the man who held her hand in Lagos, the man who pretended to want a future with her. He could not lift his hand. He kept his eyes on the ground. He could not bear to look at her. But Omasiri saw him. She saw all of them. Her heart broke into pieces. Her voice was weak, but she forced herself to speak. "Why? Why are you doing this?" she whispered. Her voice cracked. Her lips shook. Her body trembled. "Esther, why?" she cried softly. "I trusted you. You said I was your sister." Esther looked away, tears running down her face. She could not speak. "Uncle, Auntie," Omasiri continued, turning her weak face to Mr. and Mrs. Enoma. "You treated me like family. Why do you want me to die?" They avoided her eyes. Then she turned her eyes slowly towards Chimobi. Her heart almost stopped. "Chima," she whispered, her voice full of pain. "Why? Why did you pretend to love me? Why did you bring me here?" Chimobi's hand shook. He took a deep breath, his eyes full of shame. For many seconds, he could not speak. His throat felt locked. His soul felt like it was breaking. Finally, he whispered, barely audible, We are sorry. We cannot allow our whole family to go down." His voice dragged like a dying leaf. His heart felt crushed. Omasiri's eyes widened in pain. "What of my parents?" she whispered tearfully. "Have you forgotten? I am an only child. Have you forgotten someone loves me too? Do you not care? What will happen to them?" Nobody answered. Nobody moved. One of the elders suddenly raised his hand. "It is time," he said coldly. "Prepare for the sacrifice." Two elders moved forward. One lifted a clay pot with ash and chalk. The other carried a small calabash with dark oil inside. They were moments away from beginning the ancient ritual. The drums grew louder. The wind grew stronger. Maseri closed her eyes and whispered, God, please, don't let me die. But at that exact moment, a loud sound tore through the air. Stop there! Police! Don't move! Army! Everybody down! The entire shrine exploded with noise. Flashlights cut through the darkness. Uninformed officers rushed into the clearing with guns raised. The elders jumped back in shock. Mr. and Mrs. Enuma froze. Esther screamed. Chimaobi stumbled backward. Maseri opened her eyes wide, confused, shaking, weak, but hopeful. Her heart began to beat again, fast, loud, strong. She knew those voices. She knew those steps. She knew that rescue had come. Her parents, her mother, her father, her family. God had not abandoned her. The moment the soldiers and police secured the place, two people ran forward from behind them. Maseri's mother and father. They ran like people who had fire behind them. They ran like their hearts had left their bodies. They ran like parents who had found their child in death's hand. When her mother reached the mat, she fell to her knees and screamed, My child! My child! What have they done to you? She lifted Maseri into her arms. Her father cried loudly, dropping to the ground. My daughter! My child! Who did this to you? Maseri cried weakly as they held her. Mommy! Daddy! Her mother kissed her forehead again and again. Her father held her hand and shook uncontrollably. You are safe now, her mother cried. You are safe. Nobody will touch you again. Nobody. The forest echoed with their cries. It was the sound of pain, mixed with relief, mixed with deep love. After holding their daughter tightly, they stood up and faced the Enuma family. Her father shouted, You monsters! You demons! How can you try to kill someone who trusted you? Someone who ate in your house? Someone who called you family? Her mother pointed at them with shaking hands. You people have no heart, no soul, no conscience. My daughter followed you with love, and you brought her here to die. Esther cried harder, her body shaking. Chimaobi covered his face in shame. Mr. and Mrs. Enuma looked like the ground would swallow them, but there was no hiding place, no excuse, no forgiveness. As all this was happening, a silent figure stepped out from behind the police vehicle. A man with a tired face, a man with sad eyes, a man with a heart full of scars. Aoke. The moment the elders saw him, their faces changed. Shock, fear, disbelief. One elder shouted, Okay, what are you doing here? Another whispered, This man, again? Aoke walked forward slowly, his voice calm but full of pain. Yes, I am alive, and I am the one who exposed all of you. Gasps filled the shrine. He pointed a shaking hand at them. This wicked tradition has destroyed too many families, too many innocent children, too many lives. He turned to the elders directly. You took my wife many years ago. You used her as sacrifice when I was still a carpenter in this village. Silence fell. The elders trembled. He continued. You threatened to kill me if I talked. So I ran. I disappeared. I lost everything. My life ended that day. His voice cracked. But I came back. I hid myself in this village as a palm wine tapper. I waited for a chance to destroy this evil. And today, that day has come. The police officer nodded in respect. Her parents watched him with shock and tears, but something even deeper was about to happen. As Ogoke spoke, Omasiri's mother looked at his face again and again. Something about him felt familiar. Something about his eyes. Something about his voice. Something about the shape of his head. Then suddenly she gasped loudly. She stepped closer. Her eyes widened. Her voice cracked. "They okay?" Everyone turned. Ogoke froze. She shouted louder, crying, "They okay? It is you! It is really you!" Tears rushed down her face. "You are my cousin, my mother's sister's son. We searched for you years ago. We thought you were dead." Ogaoke's eyes slowly filled with tears. He whispered her name softly. Then they ran toward each other and hugged tightly. It was an emotional scene. Two family members who thought they had lost each other forever, now found again in the middle of a shrine of death. They cried into each other's shoulders. They trembled together. Ogoke whispered, "They killed my wife. They destroyed my life. I had nowhere to go." She cried harder. "You are safe now. You are home. You saved my child. You saved her." They hugged again and again. Even the police officers felt tears in their eyes. After the emotional moment, the police and soldiers took control. The elders were handcuffed. Mr. and Mrs. Enuma were handcuffed. Esther was handcuffed. Chimobi was handcuffed. They were all marched out of the shrine. The people who pretended to love Maseri, the people who tried to kill her, the people who betrayed her trust, were now being led away to face justice. Maseri watched them with weak eyes, tears falling silently. She said no word. She felt no hate, just pain, deep, deep pain. Maseri was rushed to the hospital that same night. Doctors and nurses worked on her for hours. They gave her fluids. They treated her wounds. They cleaned her skin. They removed the chalk markings. They checked her breathing. Her parents never left her side. Her mother held her hand. Her father prayed non-stop. Ogaoke waited outside, pacing slowly with worry. By morning, the doctor came out with a tired smile. She will live. She will be fine. Her parents broke down crying. Ogaoke closed his eyes and whispered, "Thank you, God." Weeks later, the case went to court. Newspapers wrote about it. TV stations talked about it. People were shocked. A girl almost sacrificed in this modern world. A family planning to kill someone they called a daughter. Elders forcing a tradition of blood. The court listened carefully. Witnesses testified. Police officers explained everything. Ogaoke told his painful story. Omaseri's parents described their suffering. At the end, the judge gave his ruling. Esther and her family, 10 years imprisonment for attempted murder and conspiracy. The evil elders, life imprisonment for many years of secret killings. The courtroom was silent. Justice had been done. The wicked people who tried to kill Omaseri would never come out again. The government stepped in. The police launched an investigation. The shrine was destroyed. The sacrifice tradition was banned forever. No family would be forced again. No girl would be kidnapped again. No innocent blood would fall again. Amenu village was finally free from darkness, and it all ended because of one brave man, Ogaoke. For months, Omaseri went through therapy. She cried, she talked, she healed slowly. Her parents stood by her side every second. She learned to sleep again. She learned to trust again. She learned to breathe without fear. But the memories never left her. Her family made a decision. Let her start a new life far away. So one day, they packed her bags. They kissed her forehead. They held her hand. They prayed for her. Then they put her on a plane. She traveled abroad to begin again. to live in a place with no shrines, no sacrifice, no elders with dark eyes, no betrayal, no pain, just peace, just safety, just a fresh start. Maseri lived. She healed. She found peace. She started again. The evil tradition ended. Lives were saved. Justice was done. And the village that once drank blood now lived without fear. All because one girl survived, one man refused to stay silent, and two parents refused to give up. The most important lesson in this story is that in a festive season filled with happiness, lights, food, and celebration, people, especially young ones, must be extremely careful about who they trust and where they follow others to. Because behind the sweetest smiles and the warmest invitations can hide dangerous secrets, wicked intentions, and deadly traps that can destroy a life in one moment. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonders, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.